Hello and welcome again to Urban X-Files. Today we're going to talk about infamous gravestone that's in the city of Liverpool, in Rodney Street of Liverpool city centre. For those of you that don't know, Rodney Street is the equivalent of Harley Street in London. But I would like to point out that the church that we're talking about in Rodney Street has a specific tomb. Now this tomb, if you walk past, you cannot miss. The tomb is in the shape of a pyramid and it has like a green emblem on the front. The tomb is William Mackenzie. Now for those of you that don't know who William Mackenzie is, great, because I'm going to tell you. William Mackenzie, he was born in Nelson in 1794 and he was the eldest of 11 children of Alexander Mackenzie, a Scottish contractor. He started his career as an apprentice weaver, but he changed to civil engineering, becoming a pupil of a lock carpenter on the Leeds and Liverpool Canal in 1811. He continued his training on a dry dock at Troon Harbour as an agent on the Edinburgh-Glasgow Union Canal. In the 1820s, he was an engineer on Birmingham canals and some of the cuttings required for the Liverpool and Manchester Railway. He also worked abroad, including on the Paris to Rouen Railway. He lived at 74 Grove Street, which is sadly no longer there. He lived there from 1843 until his death in 1851. He had married twice, but he had no children, and he left most of his estate, which was £340,000, which today is the equivalent to of around 42 million. And he left that to his younger brother, Edward. Now, here is the big twist. For those of you that watched Urban Paranormal, you will have seen a ghost story about William Mackenzie. Now, I'll give you a little bit of a brief backtrack of the ghost story, but I will then relay some more logical information. As the so-called ghost story goes, there was a woman in the 1970s who worked as a kitchen assistant in the YMCA in Mount Pleasant, and she took a trip to her home in Parliament Street at 6:30, and she left the bus and headed to her place of work via Rodney Street. Now she took this route every single day for many years. Now she was really accustomed to the spooky atmosphere that hung over the defunct derelict St Andrew's Church on Rodney Street, which really does have a spooky look to it. Now, in these days, it was purchased by some contractors who had invested money in it and done it up, so it is now used as student accommodation. I'll add some pictures to it so you can see what I'm talking about. So she was walked past St Andrew's Church. Wasn't affected by the ghosts or anything like that. Now, as she walked past the church ruins, she found herself confronted with a gentleman dressed in Victorian attire. He had a cape and a cane, and it looked like he'd come out of the walls of the church. And the ghost advanced towards the lady, and the lady obviously freaked and ran. Now she was not immune to the spookiness of Rodney Street. So, as the story goes, this spectre that was seen on Rodney Street had been witnessed by many people over the years. And this is also being witnessed by many people who are not likely to believe in spooky things, like police, like scientists, like doctors, those type of people. So, as the story gets deeper and deeper, it was witnessed that the man had come from this strange pyramid tomb. So, research was then done by another said paranormal investigator, one who didn't like urban paranormal stories. So what this ghostwriter said is that after his research into the tomb on Rodney Street was that of William Mackenzie, who was a very wealthy guy, made his own fortune and done well for himself in the world. Now, as well as being a very successful businessman and engineer, he was renowned for gambling. He was a very avid gambler. So, a brief history of the story for those of you that don't know, and for those of you that do know and know the writer who writes these stories. I want to clarify, I am not using any of that. Right, so as the story goes, there was a card game and Mr. Mackenzie was very good at playing poker, and he won massive fortunes, more fortunes that most people would never have in a whole lifetime. And he lost the same. He lost fortunes that most people would never dream of. But due to his successful businesses and various things, losing a few £1,000s here and there was nothing worth shouting about. So one day he was gloating in his success as a professional poker player, as well as other achievements that he's achieved. He then was challenged by a mysterious guy. Now, this mysterious guy sat down at the table and played Mr. Mackenzie. Now, Mr. Mackenzie won the first few games. So, to make things a little bit more interesting, this mysterious guy had turned and said, "Tell you what, how about you play for your soul?" And Mr. Mackenzie laughed. I was like, I believe in no such things. So the strange, mysterious guy had said, if this is the case, then play. You have nothing to lose if you do not believe in the devil who claims your soul. So not wanting to feel like a big wimp, so he decided to play this mysterious guy. He thought, well, you know, I've beat him a few times before, so I'll probably beat him again, and if I lose, you know, it's not real, is it? So he did. He played the game and he lost. Now, this is where it gets a bit strange. As he lost to this mysterious guy, he turned around and said, "Mr. Mackenzie, I have beat you in the game of poker. Now you must hand over your soul." Now at this point, Mr. Mackenzie would have freaked out. So he said, what I will do, I will let you live your earthly life, and I will not claim your soul until you are buried under consecrated ground, when I will come and claim for your soul. Now this man stood up, and as he stood up, he had this strange aroma around him. He had mist and he had hooved feet. This obviously freaked Mr. Mackenzie even more, and as he walked out the door, Mr. Mackenzie followed him. There was nobody there. The mysterious figure had vanished. Now this freaked the living out of Mr. Mackenzie. So, as this ghostwriter goes on to say, that this pyramid tomb has the remains of Mr. Mackenzie. Now, in his stories, I think more for the effect of the ghost stories, they say that Mr. Mackenzie sat upright in the tomb, because it's in the shape of a pyramid, so it's enough for someone to be inside, enough room, sorry, for someone to be inside, and he sat there with a winning deck of cards. Now, this is where, as much as I'd love the ghost story to be true, and I am not saying that people have not seen this ghost, but sadly it isn't true, because the fabled story insists that he's not buried, he's not in consecrated ground. So this means that technically Satan could never claim his prize, and his ghost is therefore said to be roaming the streets of Rodney Street for Judgment Day, till Judgment Day, I don't know. Now, this is where funny turn is that there is clear proof that the tale of the entombment is very, very false, because the pyramid monument was actually erected nearly 20 years after the death in 1868, and his brother Edward, his younger brother Edward, erected this tomb as dedicated to his brother, and the money that he'd given him, and the success he's had, because he did do quite a lot in terms of production of the railway stations and the investment into it all over the world. Now it was placed there after the death of his second wife, her name was Sarah, and she died in December of 1867. Now, the inscription on it says, "In the vault beneath lie the remains of William Mackenzie, Esquire, who died on the 29th of October in 1851, aged 57 years. Also Mary, his wife, who died on the 19th of December in 1838, aged 48 years. And Sarah, his second wife, who died on the 9th of December in 1867, aged 60 years. This monument was erected by his brother Edward as a token of love and affection. The memory of the just is blessed." So this sort of shoots down the devil playing cards by another Liverpool paranormal author. But I must say, it is an entertaining story, to say the least. So you have the history of William Mackenzie and the ghost story of William Mackenzie and the Rodney Street Spectre. Hope you enjoyed this strange story with some truth added to the fable ghost story. If so, hit the like button, share, subscribe, and peace. Stay safe. See you in the next video.